Hi guys, welcome to the Soul on Fire show. I'm super excited to be here because it is Wednesday and today we get to teach. I am Noelle Agape. I am the host of the Soul on Fire show. So thank you for being here on the live. Thank you for being here on the replay. And for those that don't know me, I'm a quantum energy trainer, a licensed counselor, an NLP trainer, and also a shaman. And we work in the mental body, the physical body, the energetic body, and the emotional body on this show. And today we're going to go deep into the emotional body, understanding the vibration of shame and how to actually transcend shame and guilt, because it is one of the lowest frequencies in the planet. And when you understand that shame is a mask and most of the time is used as a weapon, it will change your life. I'm so grateful that you're here. Stay till the end because we're going to work on an exercise that actually allows you to see where your frequency is and how you actually can transcend that trauma into a higher frequency to tap into your zone of genius and break through your upper limits. So stay till the end, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am really excited to talk about this topic because this is one that's near and dear to my heart, because shame is one of the core wounds that comes most of the time from abandonment. It comes from abuse. It comes from neglect, rejection, and it really can mask itself. It's a tricky one. Actually, I mean, there's a lot of core emotions that, there's fear, anger, hurt, sadness, guilt, and shame. And shame is a tricky one because shame actually comes out in very, very different ways. And most of the time it's from a core childhood wound of someone either shaming you or you felt ashamed, embarrassed. It doesn't feel good by any means. So what we do immediately as our inner child wound is responding to this shame. What happens is that you go into a space of, oh my gosh, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm not safe, secure, and protected. I'm not lovable right now, or I'm not whole and complete. And so the second that any shame is triggered within you, or you're shamed, or you're shaming someone, what happens is that you go into the lowest frequency on the planet, right? And so shame is really, guilt and shame are the lowest frequencies on the planet. And so, here on this channel, we work with the mental body, the physical body, the emotional body, and the energetic body to break you through your upper limits, to tap you into your zone of genius so you can be fully in wellness in every area of your life. And shame comes out in very different ways, guys. And so I have been, those that don't know me, I've been on a beautiful journey, and my life has exploded the past couple of years, which I'm so grateful for. God is so good. And also I've been on a journey of love and understanding love. And I've been in 4 beautiful divine relationships that have helped me grow and expand as a soul and move from my journey through pain and abandonment and in my childhood wounds. I have, those that don't know my story, it's been, it's been written all over the place, but, there was abuse in my childhood. I was sexually abused when I was 6 years old. My dad was, he did the best he could, but he was a functioning alcoholic. He was very, very, very successful, but an alcoholic, very abusive to my mom. And he, there was a lot that turned into that. Fast forward, my grandfather saved me from that situation. I grew up on a resort with my grandparents and my mom, and my grandfather, who is the love of my life when I was a child, actually raised me and he died in my arms of cancer from when I was 15 years old. And so what happened in that space was I developed a masculine shield because I had been sexually abused by a 13-year-old neighbor. My dad was an abusive alcoholic. And then the one man that was the love of my life died in my arms, and watched him be this beautiful hero to 65 pounds, literally changing his bed sores. And fast forward that, actually cancer is comes out as shame. And I'll talk more about sickness and how that looks in your body and how emotions come out, whether it's in sickness or in accidents or bad things in your body. When you have trauma in your body, it usually penetrates as stress, anxiety, depression, sickness. So going through that journey, I don't focus in that space, but I do now do what I do for the last 25 years because of my journey, right? So I knew that in my pain, there was some sort of purpose in my life. And my purpose is obviously to teach transcending trauma out to the world, and understanding that you don't have to stay in that space, right? So I was victimized, but I'm not a victim. And with that, I had power, and I can teach out to the world for people that are still in the space of trauma, and or if they're healing their wounds. But what I want you to know, guys, is that I'm on this journey, and I'm doing this for 25 years. I have insane amount of credentials, and I've been doing this forever. And my relationship with my kids is the best it's ever been in my entire life. My health and wellness is on point. My business is doing really well and thriving. And in my 4 relationships, what was the biggest thing for me that I had to transcend was a huge piece for me. And so I just started working with a somatic coach, and she's amazing and transformative. And every area of my life is changing because I'm understanding the nervous system a lot more than I ever have. Even on my shaman journey, even in this quantum energy trainer, I never really went out because I work mostly with the brain and the body. But now I'm understanding the nervous system and how emotions are stored in your body. So from that space, guys, what I want you to know is that every single one of us here on this journey is on a soul's journey of expansion. And so when you're in contracted energy, there could be a part of your life that seem, going along smoothly, and then you like hit a bump in the road. Or if you're struggling in one area of your life or struggling in all areas of your lives, it's probably because of a core wound within inside of you. Now, shame is a huge component of the core wounds. So again, the core wounds are usually come out in the emotions of fear, anger, hurt, sadness, or guilt and shame. And then the belief system behind that is I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not safe, secure, and protected, I'm not lovable, I'm not whole and complete. Right. And so if you're looking on the frequency scales, we're all energy in motion. It's where you work in the energetic fields and you attract exactly what you are. Meaning, and I say this all the time on this channel, guys, you don't get what you desire, you get what you are. And desire is actually a lack mentality. So I never even say, oh, I desire this. I set an intention and I work towards the frequency of becoming that. Now, if you understand that you're living in your end and you're actually, you're in your intention, and you want to be in your intention in the manifestation process, and you're living in your end, you have to work through the core wounds that are inside of you, and you have to transcend them to a higher frequency, because literally you are vibrating out energy from whatever frequency your emotional body is. The body is the communication of your emotions. Your brain is the communication of your thoughts. And so your electromagnetic fields, which is what you manifest, is your heightened sense of thought and your heightened sense of emotion. And when you understand that your heightened sense of thought and heightened sense of emotion thoughts become patterns, patterns become beliefs, and then beliefs become your reality, and it transcends into a reality. It is an infinite field of possibilities, but that's the version of you, the frequency and the vibration of you that on one specific timeline. When you transcend a specific trauma, you're actually moving to a different timeline. So you're becoming a completely different version of yourself, meaning that you have to actually, again, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. So you have to become a completely different version of yourself. When you understand that transcending any of these emotions will allow you to move the frequencies, you're not healing this on this timeline and then staying on that timeline, and then the trajectory of that timeline is already created, right? God has already created, all of creation's already in existence. So you're not staying on that timeline. You're actually moving to a different frequency, a different timeline. So shame's at a very low frequency. You're moving that to honor and cherished and higher frequencies of love. So love is an internal game, right? Finding self-love and all of that is an internal game. Now, I just did a post this week about shame specifically because it came up for me tremendously in my healing journey. And again, student in one breath, teacher in the next. You're always humble enough to know that your soul is here in expansion until the day you die. You're going to be expanding, and then you master it and you teach it. So shame has been a big thing for me. 4 relationships of my life have come out in a tremendous amount of shame. Now, shame doesn't just show up as I'm embarrassed, right? Or I'm shameful or I feel guilty. Shame shows up in very, very different ways. Shame is one of the biggest masks because fear you can identify, right? It's anxiety, it's those feelings of jitter, it's depression. Anger is very apparent, right? It's because anger is a burst of energy, which you can actually move towards a higher frequency if you use all of those fear and anger, and we that's what we do. We transmute the energy, but guilt and shame come out very differently than the others because guilt and shame is a core self-loathing wound. Now, I truly love myself. And this is not conceit. This is just the truth. Like I think I'm magical. I'm my favorite human on this entire planet. I really am. And my children and there are other people in my life. That are my favorite humans on the planet, but I love who I am. Like I adore that what I'm doing in this world. I love the choices that I'm making. I love that I'm conscious. I love who I am, and I still had these core wounds, guys. So shame masks itself as, and this is a really powerful lesson to understand that shame's entire journey with the version of shame and the version of guilt is to be transcended because it is allowing you to stop hurting yourself. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute. Guilt and shame are there for you to be shown to allow yourself to stop self-sabotaging, stop being a victim, stop hurting yourself in some way. Now, what I learned through the journey of shame, which was amazing to me, was that little teeny things would come up in shame, whether it was in my business or whether it was in a relationship. It would be like shame. And it was this core wound of something that happened within my childhood. When I was 6 years old, I was victimized, as we just talked about. But what happened was I was so shameful when I would go to school. And this is a crazy story, guys. I had no memory. I just told this to my best friend this week. She was here from Missouri, and we had a beautiful day with her brand new baby. But I have no memory, none. I had no memory from 0 to 9 years old. I had memories of the abuse, memories of growing up on the resort and dancing on my grandfather's feet, and swinging around, telling me that I'm a princess now, but going to be a goddess someday. And just growing up on the resort, I had beautiful memories, and I remembered incredible memories. I remembered the dark memories as well. But what I did not remember was elementary school. From kindergarten through third grade, I have no memory whatsoever of school. None. Like I just had no memory. And she's a hypnotherapist, and we were talking about it. And she's like, yeah, there's something in there, right? And so I went in this week with I'm working. I have literally 100 people at speed dial that are in either therapy or therapists and or hypnotherapists or quantum energy trainers or whatever it may be. This is the field that I work in. So I've spoken to a bunch of people about this, and then I stopped and I was like, wait, so there's something there. Like, how could I not have a memory from literally 5 years old to 9 years old? I spent a majority of kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. I had no memories of school. What I realized is that I built a wall up that I remember now because we talked about it, and then I went into it, and then I did the work. That one of my teachers, I had auditory processing disorder, and I had it when I was 6 years old. I had an ear infection, and it severed the cord between my ear and my brain. And so I process things very, very different, and which is crazy because I'm like genius IQ, but I have auditory processing disorder. And I didn't understand that in school, it was really hard for me to learn to read. It was really hard for me to learn like math. It was really hard for me to learn. And like my father being an alcoholic and seeing like this craziness of how he treated my mother, and then being sexually abused, I literally shut down into shame. And it came out in my life, in my relationships, right? It came out in little things where I was super shameful. I had tons of body shame, right? And those are that know me are like, oh my God, Noelle, but you're so healthy. I am now. But my entire life, guys, like I had bulimia. I had, I would look in the mirror and I would think that I was ugly and shameful. And I'm a counselor, right? I mean, I do this for a living. And through graduate school, I was like, wait, that's not my truth. That's not who I am. Honoring and loving and respecting and cherishing me doesn't come from the outside, right? It comes from the inside. And then I learned about, quantum physics and understanding a different version and a different reality of me and tapping into my God energy and my connection to God, and that you are love and you are cherished already. And it became a completely different journey for me, because the shame piece was tremendous. It came out in my relationships, right? I would be in so first and foremost, when I had the auditory processing disorder and I thought I was stupid and I would get my tests back in elementary school, huge, remember this. I would be like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. I would see everybody else reading, I would see everybody else passing the test, and I failed. So what did I do? I immediately went into overachiever mode, right? And so I graduated, and I have 14 years of grad school, 14 years of schooling, including grad schools, 7 credentials, like insane things to prove my worth. Tried to prove my worth in every area of my life, in my marriage, in my relationships, in everything. How much money I had, how good did I look, and it came out from one teacher saying to me that I didn't know how to read, and it was really, I wasn't supported with my auditory processing disorder until an amazing mentor in college said, Noelle, you have auditory processing disorder. Have you ever been tested? And from that space, that's when I became a counselor, and that's when I started working. And that's when I realized how intelligent I was. I graduated salute Victorian from graduate school, guys, when this little girl thought that she was stupid, and then she had shame that her father was an alcoholic, and that she had shame that I had to be raised by my grandparents because my mom was a single mom and she did the best that she could, but it was struggling through. I had so much shame when I went to school that my adult life, I brought that in, and so it came out as me being a super overachiever, being an athlete and had to kill it, doing everything in my power to push and change. And if there was abandonment, I would go into anxiety, and if it was rejection, I would feel shameful, and I would immediately go into shame. But what I didn't know that it was shame. I was masking it as judgment. And I'd be like, oh God, he's such a wounded person. Oh my God, like that person. And I would literally, on top of the fact that I had like all of these things, scarcity and lack from my divorce, I had so much shame. And I went into a marriage, and I brought situations that brought more shame. And there was shame around money, there was shame around being feminine, there was shame around being in the wounded aspects of my life, until I actually looked at that and said, no, I can transcend that reality. I could actually change my dimensions. I can change, and I can know, and I can feel, and I can understand that that's not who I am. That's my old story of who I am. And I can go and I can revise that story. I've learned in neuroscience. I've learned, quantum physics. I understand I can do differently, but I had to own who I was. I had to stop and say, yeah, I actually did have auditory processing disorder, and I was sexually abused, and my dad was an alcoholic, and my grandfather did die in my arms. But I am now 52 years old. Am I choosing the rest of my life to live this way? Right. And it was just this week, guys, just this week, 25 years later and 52 years old, 4 relationships in my life that were divine relationships that were not like they were teaching me this entire time. Noelle, you're worthy, you're good enough. And it was this constant battle for me to be worthy, to be seen, to be heard, to be good enough, to be accepted, to be loved. To, did that person come to me? And if they love me, it was people pleasing. It was anxiety ridden, all of it, until I stopped and I said, no, actually, What's the opposite of shame? It's honor. It's cherished. It's loved. God loves me. God honors me. God cherishes me. It has nothing to do with an outside source. That was a version of me that came up in tremendous amount of ways in my life that I didn't even know. I thought it was really amazing to be an incredible athlete and kill it. I thought it was amazing to work my ass off and become salutatorian of grad school. I thought it was really cool to have all those degrees. And I thought it was so important that I married the right person and had all this money. And it was all because I was trying to not be ashamed of who I was when I was a child. And so my inner wound was shame and abandonment and rejection and neglect. And it was all tied in. My teenager, when she got to school, was like, all right, well, I'm super cute and I'm a really good athlete. So I'm going to change that and I'm going to manipulate that, not manifestation, manipulation. I'm going to manipulate it. So I could be better than that. I spent my life 52 years old manipulating, not manifesting. Now, I'm going to correct that. For the last 15 years of my life, I've been manifesting and I'm amazing at it. But when it came to love, right, I didn't even know that my core wound was shame. I didn't know because it came out in different ways that was so sneaky. And my weapon was judgment. My weapon was, hey, my wounded teenager is going to protect my wounded child. And so if I have a weapon of, being extremely good at everything I do, being the best at everything I do, not being vulnerable enough to look inside and say, hey, that's shame. That's abandonment. There's something that's a rejection wound. Pause, stop, think about this. How can you respond differently? How can you be better? How can you apologize? How can you now live from your truth? And the 4 relationships that I've been in were amazing and beautiful, but they weren't the highest consciousness. And they were, I didn't communicate well because I went into fight and judgment, because every single time I felt shameful, I would be in victim. Now, do I live my life in victim? No, I do not live my life in victim. Was this still in my fields? Yeah, it was. And it was a core wound that I just found this week. So we're constantly evolving to a new version of ourselves, right? Becoming the manifestation, not manipulating the ego. We will be right back, guys. Stay tuned. This is such a powerful topic. I'm going to show you ways how to actually deal with the shame and the guilt and transcend it into something else. We'll be right back, guys. Hi, guys. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being on the Soul on Fire show. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you again for being on the live. Thank you again for being on the replay. Today, we're talking about guilt and shame and how it masks itself as a core wound in your body and how to actually transcend it into honor, cherish, love, beautiful high frequencies and vibrations. So in the first segment, I told you a lot about myself and my story, being incredibly vulnerable this week, which is great because vulnerability opens up for expansion, right? So let's talk about contracted energy versus expanded energy. Now, I've been doing this for 25 years at Noelle Agape Global. We work in our mental body, our physical body, our emotional body, and our energetic body. What you have to understand, guys, is that I don't stay in the wound. I'm not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I found shame and this is crazy. I've changed massive, massive, massive thousands of people's lives, and I still carried this wound. I have 14 years of crazy credentials, and I still changed lives, and I had this wound. So first and foremost, I want you to just have some compassion for yourself that on the soul's journey, we're always expanding and we're always moving to the next level of our life. And every relationship I've ever been in It's the next level of me, right? So let's talk about becoming honor and becoming love and becoming cherished and the vibration and the frequency of that and what that looks like and how to actually not live in the shame. So, what I do often with myself and my clients, and when this came up this week for me, my nose is itchy, which means it's the truth. So, what came up a lot for me this week is in a beautiful, loving conversation with somebody that is just a love from my soul. It allowed me to see where I could be better, right? And so it's always about not judging you and where you are, just allowing yourself to be better and softer and more present with you and with God and with understanding that this is happening in this one reality to show you and teach you. And shame is allowing you to stop hurting yourself, right? When you understand guilt and shame will come up as self sabotage, which was tremendous for me. You could be like, oh, okay, I still I live in gratitude. I have a, beautiful life, a beautiful homes. Things still come up, but they came up today, as a matter of fact, right? Where you have to pause and you're like, oh, that's my shame. I see that. Okay. Or, okay, that's my fear. I see that. Okay, that's my anger. I see that. How can I be better? What is this showing me? What is this teaching me? How am I hurting myself from this? What toxic agreements? Thank you, Lauren, my beautiful relationship coach, talking about what toxic agreements do I need to get rid of? Right? Shame is a toxic agreement. Fear is a toxic agreement. Anger is a toxic agreement. But it doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I have shame. I have to transcend this. How do I change? How do I become a different version? No, just pause, stop and be like, oh, okay, I see that it's shame. I see that I am in a spiritually mature place right now, that my 6-year-old child felt shamed. My 15-year-old used it as judgment and a mask. But my 52-year-old is going to say, how can I heal this, transcend it, and teach it out to the world? Right. So, first and foremost, what I want you to do is I just want to kind you to take in a awareness version of your life. Right. Where do you have shame? Do you have shame around your finances? Do you have shame around your past? Do you have shame around your home? Do you have shame around your relationships? Have you done things that are shameful that make you feel guilty? First of all, ask for forgiveness because God always forgives you, right? Secondly, stop and pause and say, that was a frequency. That timeline that I was on was a frequency. But cherish and honor and love is a frequency that I choose. I choose to not have to be on that frequency, on that timeline anymore. I choose to change my timeline. I choose to become a different version of myself. Now, with my marriage, I created a lot of shame, and there was a lot of shame that came in my marriage, and I have forgiven myself and asked for forgiveness, and that person has asked for forgiveness, and both of us have apologized, and with my other relationships as well. But what I had to do was just go in and be okay and forgive my wounded child for having that shame. Because radical forgiveness is never about the other person, it's about you. And radical forgiveness is the number one thing that will allow shame. But shame is self loathing, and shame in some way is teaching you that you're hurting yourself. So, how do you need to stop hurting yourself? What patterns are you, what thoughts, what's your mental diet like? What's your emotional diet like? What's your physical diet like? How are you treating your body, right? When you look in the mirror, what do you see? It took me a very long time to get here, guys, but I promise you, I look in the mirror now, and even with that shame and fear and anger and hurt and sadness next to me, which will always be there, they're not going to go away. They're frequencies, right? It's a choice of a frequency. I could look in the mirror and I love me. Like, I truly love me. And I'm not like, oh, I love me. I am like, no, I love me. Like, I really legitimately love me. And that allows me to love my kids and my kids to love me. And that allows my relationships to love me. And I have to understand that, like, on the journey of relationship, it is beautiful, conscious choices, right? It's a frequency of shame and guilt and anger and hurt and sadness. It's not victimhood, it's self responsibility, self-concept, your mental diet, right? Write down everything that you feel shameful and guilt of. Write down every thought and belief that you have around that shame. Write down your emotions that you feel when you feel that shame. Feel it in your body. What is going on with that? Because it's trying to teach you and show you you're hurting yourself in some way. And I'm getting emotional on this because stop hurting yourself. You are beautiful, pure, divine light within you. And when that shame came up this week, I wasn't like, what? Oh my gosh, I'm in shame, blah, 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 hysterically crying, running around. What do? I paused and I stopped and I said, wow, this is shameful. And this is not my truth. I have to be something else. I have to be something different. How can I act differently, think differently, be differently? How can I actually pause and look and see and give that baby girl that was 6 years old love and say, honey, I understand that your teacher told you you're stupid. My high school counselor told me I was stupid and I should never go to college. Meanwhile, like, pushed me to be insanely who I am. Thank you. By the way, at one point I would have said F you, but now I'm like, thank you. Thank you for coming into my life. Thank you, shame, for showing me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That I have to move to a different timeline. I have to change my frequency. I have to change my thoughts. I have to change my patterns. I have to change my beliefs. I have to change my diet. I have to stop drinking alcohol, whatever it may be that is your shame point. You have to stop it. Because as a spiritually mature adult, if you're watching this, you're an adult, right? I mean, I'm guessing you're an adult, because not many children are interested in the quantum fields, but you're an adult. Take radical responsibility for that shame. Accept accountability for what you did in the guilty space. Apologize where you need to. And stop and pause and say, this is one vibration, one frequency. This is my end, right? So the manifestation process is you have a desire and then you have a time lapse and then you have the transition, which is you becoming from ego to consciousness. And then your manifestation, you're a perfect match to that manifestation. It appears in your life. If you're carrying shame all through that thing, shame's going to show up over and over and over again. That's the first piece. So the identity piece is a very big deal. Very big deal. Now, something happened this week with me where I had to like laugh about my identity, where something came up where I put in the paperwork wrong. And now for the next month, I have to be a different identity because I until I can change it. Anyway, identity, like, how are you identifying with the shame, right? There's a version of me that was really shameful. And quite honestly, like, through my childhood and through my marriage, there was a lot of shame in me, right? And then as I progressed through the other three relationships, that the core relationships in my life, it grew, and I grew, right? There was, another relationship that I had that was 3 years, that was crazy, beautiful love, but it was like him shameful and I'm shameful because like attracts like, and it attracted all this chaos. And then in a 9-year relationship, it was constantly judgment and shame against each other, right? Why? Because like attracts like. And in the last relationship I'm in, who was the most beautiful soul of my life, he's the only one that stopped and said, we have to do this differently, right? We have to pause. We have to see things from a different view. And that one sentence changed my life, because it was, wait, I'm accepting accountability that like attracts like, and we have to see things differently. I have no idea what's going to happen in that relationship. I have wishes and hopes, but I have no idea what's going to happen. But on that journey of self-expansion, there was kindness, there was compassion, there was love. Why? Because for the first time in my life, I have kindness and compassion, even through the shame. I was like, oh, there's shame. I see that. Oh, that came up as shame. Oh, that came up as judgment. Where was I putting shame on that person? Right? Spiritually mature, adult, conscious relationships comes from you. Love is an inside job. right? And shame is about self-love and understanding and knowing and appreciating you, God in you, through you, and knowing that the journey of love or the journey of abundance or the journey of self-worth, there is so much shame in today's society. I mean, especially with women, right? I mean, there's actually a lot of shame with men too, right? They have to be this powerful man. They have to do this, and the woman has to look a certain way and do the certain thing. And instead of just stopping and being like, wow, my childhood, I felt a lot of shame, and this situation happened, and that was a frequency and a version that I chose, but I'm choosing this frequency. I'm choosing honor and love, and I'm choosing to not see that, and I'm choosing a different frequency. Will it still come up? Yes, because you're still in the middle of the changing the identity, but you have to become a different version of you before it shows up in your reality, right? And so you're an exact blueprint or an exact frequency of whatever is happening in your external world. So when you understand that there is nothing, not one thing that is happening in your external world that's not going on inside of you, but you're compassionate and you're loving and kind with that trauma, because guys, for the rest of your life, and I'm sorry to say this, but this is the truth, you're in human embodiment, right? So we're here to obtain Christ consciousness and get to the level of Christ, but we're still human. And on this human journey, it's messy. Sometimes you hurt people, sometimes you judge people, sometimes you hurt yourself, sometimes you judge yourself, right? But where can you be kinder? Where can you have more compassion? Where can you have more love? Where can you pause? Where can you do the inner work? Where can you work with your nervous system? Where can you actually take accountability? I just hired a relationship coach, guys. I've done this for 26 years, 25 years, excuse me. And I had 5 coaches along the way. I had a business coach, I had a shaman, I had a spiritual advisor, I had all these people that helped me. But the one component of my life, about a month ago, something happened with this same person, and it stopped, and it affected me so much that I was like, I can never do this again. I need support. I'm doing something that is hurting somebody that I love tremendously, and he's doing something that's hurting me, which means like attract like, and that's a frequency. I had to take accountability. I had to heal. I had to go into my trauma that's still there because I'm still human, right? And am I better and healthier and more in a relationship than I've ever been in my entire life? Yes. Am I calling in conscious relationships now? Yes. Am I calling conscious clients in my business? Yes. Are there still amazing things happening in my life? I'm growing every single day, expanding beyond contracted energy. That's all God asks of you. Of every single day, just expand from where you were. I see that that's shameful. It doesn't feel good. Shame feels terrible, right? So the best way to describe shame is, it's instead of shrinking behind the shame or being boastful or being a victim or alcoholic or and all of it is covered by shame. All of it is covered by shame. And when you stop and you say, oh, there's shame here. I see the shame. It's a powerful energy, but I'm going to transcend it. I'm going to transcend it because I know it's just a wounded child energy, but it's not me and it's not my truth. I'm going to see it. I'm going to know it. It's there and I understand it and I'm going to give it a voice, but I'm not going to carry it with me for the rest of my life. I'm going to release this toxic agreement and know that I'm going to be better every moment of the day. And I'm going to choose to be better every moment of the day. Stay tuned, guys. We're going to come back and then I'm going to actually go walk you through step-by-step process of knowing and understanding on how to transcend your emotions when they come up. We'll be right back, guys. Stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being on the Soul on Fire show. I'm super excited to be here because we're going deep into the emotional body today. So I want to give you, in the first segment, I told you my story and I told you how things came up. And then I told you how to actually transcend shame and actually honor it, allow it to have a voice, and allow it to teach you to stop hurting yourself. What I want to do today is really powerful things that I do with a lot of my clients is we scan every single body, the emotional body, the physical body, the energetic body, and the mental body, and we go in and we transcend the energy. And how do you do that, guys? How do you go from 0 to 60 and stop and pause? A very beautiful soul in my life is teaching me patience and teaching me to slow down and not just slow down and enjoy the journey, but slow down and be present and slow down and understand that everything's working out for you. It's a beautiful place. You don't have to rush, right? Now, shame will always say that you've got to get there faster because you have to be a certain thing. You have to have a certain thing to be approved, to be validated, to be valued, to be honored, to be cherished. And what happens often when we react as opposed to respond, it's a very low frequency. And so the difference between reacting and responding is reacting is, oh my gosh, I'm feeling this and I'm going to project that out, right? Responding is pausing, slowing down, understanding that there is a different reality that is already in existence and there's a different version of you that's already in existence. And you have to first make that choice. So awareness, right? I want you to go into and if you're driving, then you might want to pause this because you can't do this while you're driving. It's a full intention activity. There's tons of meditations at noelleagape.com, by the way, on this specific topic if you need it, or on my YouTube channel. You can see those. But this is an activity to just bring you awareness of where your core wounds are. And I want you to stop and I want you to think about the patterns in your life and write down, just choose one because, there's only an hour on the show. So just choose one of the things that is on your heart's desire, but you're not manifesting because you're in the transition period between ego and consciousness. And I want you to pause and I want you to write it down. I want you to look at it and I want you to see where you're coming from: fear, anger, hurt, sadness, guilt, and shame. I want you to see where you're hurting yourself and self-sabotaging from this pattern, from this toxic agreement. I want you to see it as a whole. Just write it down, purge everything out of you. I want you to pause. And I want you to think of your thoughts around this exact pattern. Because your thoughts, or your heightened sense of thought and your heightened sense of emotion, is what creates your reality. So write down the pattern, then write down the trigger. From the trigger, I want you to literally write down your thoughts. What are your thoughts? What are your beliefs around this exact subject? Because whatever you believe is going to produce in your reality. So that's the mental body, right? The physical body is your nervous system. Where in your body do you for me, my heart pounds and I go to anger from 0 to 60. My throat closes because it's my throat chakra, right? We're going to talk about the energetic body in just a moment. Communication with me is my trigger. Communication is like, so where is it with you in your physical body? Do you feel like anxiety? Do you feel depression? Do you feel self-loathing? Like, I want you just to feel it. And what sensations come up? What sensations come up in your body? Your body just is teaching you. Those sensations are teaching you. So those thoughts and those emotions, heightened sense of thought, heightened sense of emotions, thoughts become patterns, patterns become beliefs, beliefs become reality. They are what is producing your reality. So go into the sensations. Now, I want you just to allow the thoughts to happen, just without judgment. Just allow the thoughts to happen. Allow the feelings to happen. When you're triggered, what I had to learn was, okay, so I have to pause. I have to go get a glass of water because your mind can't do things at the same time. Go get an ice cold glass of water. Calm yourself down. Go for a run. Go for a walk. Feel it in your body. Sit down. Sit down. Do not do anything. Do not respond react in any way. Sit down and allow the energy to move through your body, right? So we talked about the mental, the physical. Now we're going to talk about the emotions. I want you to describe the emotion that comes up from these triggers. Is it fear? Is it anger? Is it hurt? Is it sadness? Is it guilt and shame? Behind those, the emotional body is your core wound. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm not safe, secure, and protected. I'm not lovable. I'm not whole and complete. From that space, your emotional body, communication of your body, magnetic fields, what you're pulling into you, your frequency, I want you to identify what frequency you have been playing at with all of your emotions. What is dominant in your emotional fields? What is the dominant vibration in your fields right now? Is it shame? Is it abandonment? Is it rejection? Go into that space. Allow those emotions to have a voice. It's your baby boy or your baby girl trying to talk to you. Now, your energetic body, what's your energy like, right? Are you an overachiever? Are you trying to do? Are you in receiving mode? Where do you need to clear space in your mental, physical, emotional, and energetic body? Where do you need to clear space so something better can come in? Who do you have to become? I can't be this version of myself anymore that had shame. That wasn't working for me. I have to become this. Every day of my life, I know that I'm still living in this 3D reality, but every day of my life, I'm still living in my end. I know that I'm happily and blissfully married to the love of my life. And we're, for me, it's consciously sharing stages and using our voice as our power out to the world to transcend reality, transcend massive lives, right? I'm already there all day, every day. I'm feeling it. I'm knowing I'm in the frequency of it as much as possible, but I'm still having to live in my 3D reality. If you guys did not see my show last week, it's about duality and living in the 3D and the 5D and understanding how to manipulate both. You live in your end, you as often as possible until your frequency is dominant, that you're in your end and your frequency is at your vibration. You literally also have to live in your 3D reality at the same time, with compassion, with love, with understanding, with grace, with knowing that that's not who you are anymore. But you still have to live there until you get to where you want to be. Making sense, guys? So that's how you work with your physical body, your mental body, your emotional body, and your energetic body. Some things that I do to calm myself down, and believe me, there's times that are so much easier. Like, there's going to be areas of your life, and I'm going to say this, and this is the truth. There's going to be areas of your life that are more difficult than others. There are going to be areas of life, and I said to someone the other day, I was like, how do I love you more than any human on this entire earth? And you piss me off more than any other human in your entire earth, right? Because it's teaching me patience and teaching me to slow down. Sorry, by the way, publicly announcing that I'm sorry to you, as much as I love you. And I'm sorry to me for acting that way. And how can you just make light of it, right? Not be so serious and take accountability and move into a different frequency and just be like, yeah, I was not my best, right? I was not my best. We were not our best. How can we be better? How can I be better? The area of your life, whether it's finances or business, or, there's times where things are a little bit more stressful. Where are you not having enough self-love and self-compassion in that area of your life at that time, right? Where do you need to take a break? Where do you need to pause? Where do you need to slow down? Where do you need to? And this is really, I mean, I do this all day, every day. I do a self-evaluation. I think you guys know this. I wake up every single day. I meditate for an entire hour. I get in alignment with my day. I write down in my journal what came out in my meditation. I fill my heart with gratitude. I do 15 to 20 minutes of breath work after an hour of meditation. Then I go and I do a gratitude walk around my house and my business, and I live in a gratitude. And then where do I fall? And then I pivot all day, every day. Where do I fall from grace? I write down, I journal. And then at the end of the day, I look back at my day and say, okay, what showed up today that I'm not bringing with me tomorrow? Big one, guys. What showed up with me today that I'm not going to be? And there's something that came into my life today that came in yesterday, and it's still showing up in my reality because I'm not a match to the other thing yet, but I'm still working on it. While I'm working on that piece, I'm still in the frequency of my end. I'm still in the frequency of my higher frequencies of enlightenment, of love, of bliss, of joy, right? And so what am I doing? Am I exercising? Am I eating clean? Yesterday I went for a walk, and it was the most amazing walk that I have ever done. And my media coach says this all the time, Jen Gottlieb, I love you. But she goes for manifestation walks. And that's what I did yesterday, right? Because something came up in me yesterday and I'm working through a lot of things. I went for a manifestation walk, right? And so I changed and went into a different frequency. Does that mean it has appeared in my dominant reality? Not yet. Do I still have to live in my 3D reality? Yeah, with kindness and compassion and accountability and responsibility, right? That's the key, is knowing that you have to constantly choose consciousness, and you constantly have to choose higher frequencies. You have to apologize, say sorry when you need to yourself and to others. Change your actions, change your behavior, look and evaluate and what has created this pattern, what you need to do in your life. Action. The universe loves action to change this. Now, sometimes it shows up immediately. Sometimes it takes time, but you have to change your identity. That is the key. What is your identity around this pattern? What have you been doing around this pattern that you can't do anymore? Who were you being in that pattern that you can't be anymore? Make choices. Take accountability for you. Radical responsibility and radical self-awareness. That's what it takes, with the vibration of shame, because shame is sneaky as anything. Again, it shows up as, thinking that you're doing the right thing. Sometimes, I mean, shame literally is like, I mean, guilt's a little bit different, because guilt's like, guilt is like, more of a, they're a similar frequency, but guilt comes out very, very different than shame. Shame masks itself. So here's the biggest question that I'm going to ask of you guys for guilt and shame, because I'm going to tie these two together. They're very close to each other and very low frequencies. What masks are you wearing in your life? Because authenticity and vulnerability will transmute and transcend shame and guilt every single time. So what masks are you wearing? What are you hiding behind? Right? Is it the overachiever? Is it the judgment? Is it the victim? Is it the abuse? Is it the alcoholic? Is it whatever? Where are you hiding? Right? First question. Second question. How are you using this as a weapon? Are you judging others and yourself? Are you self-sabotaging? How are you hurting yourself with this weapon of shame and guilt? When you have awareness and you make a conscious choice to be different all day, every day, it's not going to be easy, because working through shame is, again, you're working through the lowest vibration in the planet. Is it possible? Of course it is. You are more powerful than you will ever know. Everything is inside of you. Love, abundance, health. It's not an external game. It's an internal game. This is a journey of how can I love myself more? How can I value myself more? How can I appreciate myself more? How can I accept myself more? How can I let go of old versions of me, become something better? all day, every day? How? You are not in charge of the how. You just need to know the what and the when and make conscious choices all day, every day. I'm sorry. You need to know the what and the why. Sorry about that. Yeah, I've been manifesting for 25 years. So the when, that's God's job. You want to know when? I will tell you exactly when, and it's not God's timing, which it's a key of that, but it is when you're in perfect alignment with the perfect version of you. Your desires will show up, and until you are in perfect alignment, everything else that you're in alignment will show up. Meaning, if you're at the frequency of shame and guilt, and you continue to choose that frequency, that's going to continue to show up in your life. You are what you manifest what you are. There is not one thing outside of you. Every single person, every single circumstance, every single thing that is external is something going on with inside of you. When you take radical responsibility for your love, your finances, your business, everything. I have to change. I know that, and I honor that. I make conscious choices every single day, all day, every day. Guys, I've been doing this for 25 years and a shit ton of graduation, a shit ton of credentials behind me. And I still have to change. Why? Because your soul is here to experience and expand. And if you are not expanding, you're in contracted energy. Every day, all day, you are consciousness through you, God in you, to communicate and consciously connect to the higher version of you, to experience life and consciousness. Now, will you experience ego? Yeah, always, for the rest of your life. Unfortunately, I wish I could tell you that, ego will always go away. No. Do you have ego deaths? Tremendously, to move to a next level of ascension. But the frequency of fear, anger, hurt, sadness, guilt, and shame, darkness, you can't have the dark without the light. An oak tree cannot even, an acorn can't even become an oak tree without the dark. Embrace the dark. Know the dark is there to teach you to stop hurting yourself. Start loving yourself. Start honoring yourself, honoring God in you. Because I promise you guys, everything is inside of you. Not one thing. You are nature. You are God in you, through you. You are magnificent. You are abundant. You are light. You are love. And is the middle messy? Is the middle hard? Yes, it is. Do you have to have it that way? Not with a lot of awareness. The more spiritually mature you are, the more that you can truly honor yourself and God. I am so grateful, guys, to do this journey with you. And if you want to learn more, please go to noelleagape.com. We have tons of meditations and we have tons of activations there. Also, if you want to come to Costa Rica, where the dates are changed to June, we have my relationship coach is coming. Hopefully my business coach is coming, and I will be there working with a mental body, physical body, emotional body, and energetic body. And we will be tapping into your zone of genius and breaking through all of your upper limits. We're starting a collective with 4 practitioners. We're doing a group collective in April for 3 months that we're going to work with your mental body, your physical body, your emotional body, and your energetic body. You can do one-on-ones. There's tons of things at Noelle Agape Global that you can be doing to transcend your reality. You are more powerful than you will ever know. I promise you this, guys. When you know and understand, I got work to do. And I've had 6 coaches that have helped me get here. Don't do this alone. You need a mentor to get you through, because it is a cheat code, as somebody that I love tremendously says all the time. So choose you. Choose God in you. Choose the best version of you and understand and know who you are. Know who you are. You're not the shame. You're not the anger. You're not the hurt. You're not the guilt and shame. You're not the victim. You are more powerful than you ever know. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video.